Hello everybody and welcome along to PSGL Season 31. We are here at the second round of our Italian doubleheader, round number 7 of the PSGL PSF1 Championship. We head to Imola for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and I almost butchered that, but oh well, who cares? My name is Jesper, one of your commentators throughout this evening's race, and joining me back in the commentary box after a week off, we've got Mr. Aidan Carter. Aidan, welcome back, and how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, it was a nice little week off, actually. Shame we missed the race, but I enjoyed my time over in Paris for the weekend, which was really lovely. But yeah, happy to be back now for what is the latter half of the season now. It's really flown by so far, the first half of the season, and now we're getting right into the thick end of the championship. And yeah, it's looking pretty exciting going forwards in multiple different ways.
Yeah, it is. And we saw a new race winner last week of Rudy. He took his first win of the season, joining the likes of Tom and Danerco and Philip Wouters, to name a few, to pick up a race win as well. And we saw Legend take second place. Our championship leader only finished in 6th place last week, but still remains formidable force at the top of the championship with a comfortable gap in the P1. And 24 points is something not to be sniffed at, because it's a huge gap, because you only get 16 points for a race win. So you wouldn't mind P6 from last week, but sure he wanted higher this week, especially since it is his home race once again at the Tifosi home crowd in Imola. But so many drivers that performed well last week, so many drivers really need to step up. A big surprise was Namaya, who got his best result of the season, who finished P5. Is this something that we probably might get used to as the closing rounds happen?
I think definitely so. I think we tend to see a few dynamic shifts as the season goes on. I think you tend to see some people that started off the season really well maybe dip a little bit in performance as everybody gets used to it, or as people maybe, in unfortunate cases, maybe lose interest a little bit in the game. I think you start to see new people rise to the top in that sense, and I think Namaya shows that he's probably one of the first ones to do that. I think Namaya's had the pace all season long. We've said it in qualifying, he qualifies really well, but he's never been on the right strategy pretty much for any race, but he's managed to be able to get that really decent result that he needed last time out, and has got some good points on the board now. And so I'm kind of looking for other drivers, I think, to do the same here tonight. I think we're looking probably maybe, it's hard to say who there could be, but I think the two Williams cars are ones that we can look out for to maybe have really good results. And yeah, we'll see what they can do further on. And yeah, even like you said, with the championship lead that Danerco has, it's such a big lead. In the grand scheme of things, if you look at it in the normal point system we see in regular Formula 1, it doesn't look like that big of the lead, but of course that's over a race victory in PSGL. So if Philip Wouters or Tom really want a chance at this championship, then they've got to rely on Danerco having a bad race, maybe even a retirement. And as we know, Danerco, he's not the one to do that kind of thing. So it's going to have to be a mega end to the season for Wouters, Tom and Rudy, maybe, if they want a shot at this championship.
Yeah, exactly, and Danerco scored point in every single race. The lowest that he has finished was obviously last week in Imola, and we saw obviously Rudy missing the first round of the season due to him being away on holiday, but he scored points in every single race he competed in. Tom scored 0 points in Miami, but has scored points since then, including the first round as well. Philip Wouters scored points in every race, including the first round where he won, but hasn't won since then. His lowest result was in Mexico, where he scored 3 points, and Rudy scored points in every round. I already mentioned Rudy, but his lowest point scoring was in Belgium as well, but still 7th place is still a pretty good result. We'll go through the standings quickly before we head to qualifying, as Danerco is your championship leader, 21 points, not 24 points, over Philip Wouters with 65 points to 44. We got Tom, another race winner from Japan, on 41 points. Rudy in 4th on 38. Ascombe 5th, who only finished quite a low position last week, but surely he'll have something to redeem himself from last week, I'm certain. Vought in 6th. Rowan, who's not racing tonight, is in 7th. Kazidal in 8th. Ray got 7th place last week. He's 9th in the standings. A really, really strong showing so far after joining midway through the season, coming over from PSF2. Then we have Jensen, Louis. We'll talk about Louis in a second, actually, because Louis is not going to be racing for quite a while. And we've got Ogiano, Yakita, Fabi, Namaya, Mish, Makardos, Fede, Fazilio. Fazilio, I believe, is not racing tonight either. And H. Eagle, of course, we've got a few reserves. But one thing to point out, the reason why Louis is not racing tonight, and the reason why we have only 19 drivers, because Louis has got a 3-race ban due to the fact that he purposely brake-checked Misch in the last race in Monza. Now, I'm not sure if it was qualifying or the race. It might happen when we didn't capture anything like that, but that was horrible sportsmanship from Louis. And if you want to find out more information, that will be in the stewards report, which you can find on our Discord page. But yeah, Louis is not going to be raced for the next 3 races, which means he's probably definitely out of the championship fight now.
Yeah, definitely. He started off the season really, really well, did Louis, but it's just kind of been up and down ever since. And yeah, it's a real shame to hear what happened at Monza last time out. Is a really terrible way for his season to pretty much be over now, which is kind of a shame. Once he gets back, I think we'll only have 2 rounds left by the time he's back. So yeah, real disaster, unfortunately, for Louis and for Aston Martin as a team as well. They were just starting to pick up a little bit of momentum as a team, and yeah, now they're a driver down for the rest of the season. So I think Aston Martin are going to struggle to get off the bottom of the manufacturer's table as it stands. So yeah, real shame for them, but new race tonight, and I believe the 2 Alfa Romeos are the first ones on laps around the Imola circuit for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, so let's jump on board with them.
Yes, we'll find out which Alfa Romeo is first. It's actually H. Eagle, who just missed out on the points last week. He finished in 11th place, but I have to say, it was one of his strongest race results all season. The P11 was pretty amazing, but maybe this could be the track that he has a bit of Alfa Romeo blood in himself and he could score his first points. It's been a long time coming, so maybe this is the track where he's strong at as well. He's passed the chicane, which the Variante Alto it's called. It's quite hard on this game, but I think people find it easier on the console course due to low FPS, as is talked about. Going through Ravazza now, heading towards the final corner as well. A long start-finish straight coming up here as H. Eagle has aborted his run as he's invalidated. His teammate though, Philip Valters, goes up to the line and he's the first man set. Lap time 1 minute 15.033. Then Jensen, who scored 10th place last week, 1:15.099. Then Ray pits into the post with a 1:15.0. Fabi up to the line, 1:15.2. And Denurco, our championship leader, 1:14.6 already right off the gate. We saw in F2, even though it was raining right at the end of qualifying, our pole time was a 1:14.8. We just absolutely smashed that already with Denurco. I think Denurco wants to redeem himself after last week, and we got Rudy, the race winner, only 2 tenths off. So the top 2 really showing off their form at the moment, and we got one of our reserves filling in for Louis tonight in the Aston Martin, currently sitting in 3rd position. Marino. We also got Legend, who filled in for the Williams last week. He's in the Haas, and now we got Nam, who is in the Williams, filling in for Facilio. So those are our reserves, but I'm not surprised to see Denurco up there, but he hasn't got pole much this season, has he? But usually, pole usually converts to a win for him in most of the races, but we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. Yeah, Denurco's not famed for quali pace, like you say. It's always the race where Denurco comes alive. So, you know, if Denurco is going to be on pole position, then he's looking incredibly strong in the race. But as we've probably heard many a time in the past, Denurco does absolutely adore this track. It seems to be a track that suits him incredibly well. It's a difficult circuit, not a lot of margin for error, difficult curbs, like you've mentioned earlier on as well. It's fast and relentless. There's not really any slow corners apart from the Tosa hairpin. Really, that's kind of the only properly slow corner on this track. I mean, even the Variante Outer, if you get the curbs right, you can still carry quite a bit of speed through that chicane. So yeah, I think Denurco is looking strong going into this one. But again, nice to see Rudy up there in 2nd place. And he's another driver that he's kind of really come on strong, hasn't he? He obviously missed the 1st round of the season, and 2nd round of the season he kind of came in and just scored a few points in the first couple of races that he raced in. But ever since Mexico, you've got to say, he's really picked up the pace. In Mexico, unfortunately, he got spun around early on in the race, but still recovered for a really, really good result in that race. And a fastest lap, I believe, in that race as well. And he's just got stronger and stronger ever since. So not a surprise to see Rudy up at the top after the early runs of qualifying as well, which is nice to see. And another name that's nice to see at the front of the field is Marcados, I think to say. Marcados not had a great season by his own standards. Only 2 points to say, which he only got in the first race of the season. He's not scored points since. But yeah, P4 at the moment for the Red Bull driver, much higher than we've seen from him so far this season.
Yes, he's disappointed me in terms of his pace, so maybe he will start to come alive in the closing half of the season, because people at the beginning of the game cycle getting used to the game at the beginning of the season, but now as more people are used to it, a lot more people have to step up, and with Marcados improving, then maybe he can have a say on who goes where in this championship, as Chiquita is back after missing last week as he goes on his first run in qualifying, as there's quite a few traffic near him as well. As the first Formula 1 race hosted around this track was back in 1981, and it was called the San Marino Grand Prix, and that was when Italy began hosting 2 races of the Formula 1 calendar, and Monza being the other one as well in September. And it was the current name, Enzo Dino Ferrari, was named after the death of his Drake's son Dino, who died prematurely unfortunately that year. And then obviously the accident that happened in '94 saw the change of the amendment of Tamburello and Villeneuve curves back in '95 to reduce the speed of the tracks, otherwise it could have been absolute chaos. There was further changes back in 2008 due to altering the layout of the pit lane entrance and the widening of the Piratella curb escape route as well, because that caused quite a few things as well. And F1 was not on the calendar for a while. I think it was WTCC, the World Touring Car Championship, was hosted there as well, and I think more races started to be hosted there in 2010, including a few tests from a certain teams. As Chiquita comes across the line and beats Dan Urko's time with a 1:14.6. Now that is a huge shock. I wasn't expecting him to be up there. He's a driver that's been at the bottom of the standings as well in the Williams, but to see him at top of the timings in qualifying this early on, this means the timings could get quicker, or maybe the track is vamping up and finding his grip just a little bit more. I'm very impressed with the Williams driver at the moment, just a few hundredths quicker than Dan Urko at the moment.
Yeah, good lap on the board from Nikita. Like you say, we've not really seen him at the front much at all really this season. I think the only time we've seen him really do anything was at Belgium. He had a really good race at Belgium, but that's the only time he scored points this season. So yeah, nice to see him back up the front for a change again and on provisional pole. I think it's fair to say we're going to see drivers improve on their times, but even a 14.6 could be out of reach for a lot of these drivers that are still in the 15s at the moment. So that is a pretty decent time. Rudy unfortunately hasn't validated their lap. Danerco's on a lap coming towards the final 2 corners now, but he's only just under a tenth of a second up, so he's not found a lot of time on this second lap so far. So we'll see what he can do through the final 2 corners of the lap as Asacombe now goes to the top of the timesheets. As we've seen many a time in qualifying this season, he is very strong in qualifying trim. Danerco crosses the line and manages to go back onto provisional pole with a 0.5, but the gap is much smaller than it was just a few moments ago when he held provisional pole after the first runs. He only really had Rudy in range of him, but now we've got Asacombe and Nikita within a tenth of Danerco at the front of the field, and Ray now in the McLaren pops himself in 4th to continue his strong season.
Yes, Ray in P4 at the moment. His teammate Caziddo in 6th. His teammate Caziddo unfortunately had a really bad race, was very unlucky, unfortunately DNF'd quite early on as well, and to be honest, that doesn't help him in terms of his championship fight either, but still, he's still within reach. He's 20 points. He scored 18 points so far this season, currently sitting in 8th position just behind Rowan, but Rowan is not here tonight. Nam goes into the pits because he's decided to abort his run. I think it's just people on their outlaps at the moment, so it's a good time to go through who is where in the qualifying order. So Danerco is leading at the moment, 1:14.579. Asacombe second, 1:14.622. Another man in the 1:14.6s. Chiquita, 1:14.636. Then we go to the 1:14.7s with Ray. And then we got Ogiana with a 1:14.802. Rudy in 6th with a 1:14.879. We've got 2 people in the 1:14.9s with Caziddo and Romino. And then we got Marcados still in the top 10 with a 1:15.0. Then we got Valtters Namaya. Tom, I wasn't expecting him to be up there yet, as he invalidated his run, his second run, so he unfortunately wasn't able to improve, but he is going again because he wants to be higher than 12th. I'm almost certain of that, who's currently sitting 3rd in the standings and could be the one to challenge Valtters and Danerco for the title. Jensen currently sitting in 13th, Nam 14th in qualifying so far. Now we've got Fed 8 legend Fabi H. Eagle Amish. Everyone has set representative lap times at the moment. Let us know your predictions in the chat on who you think is going to get pole position. Quite a few people in the chat are rooting for Tom Robbo at the moment, and I think Milan is rooting for a few FER drivers at the moment, and good to see that one of the FER drivers currently sitting in 8th position, so Milan will probably be happy with that, as Valtters is about to start his run, as Namaya, I think, just backed off his run there because he was slowing in the very alter there, so he'll be going into the pit. So those are your qualifyings so far. A few shockers lower down the field, but Asacombe, not where you expect to be in second. I would expect him to be near the top somewhere in P1, but P2 still pretty good for Asako.
Yeah, still pretty good, and of course, pole position isn't everything around this track. It's not too difficult to overtake around here, and the run to turn 1 is quite long as well, so you can get the lead at the very start of a race around Imola without too much of a stress on your race. So that's not too bad. If you've got a yellow flag in the final sector, I think that's just one of the Alpines slowing down, getting prepared for a lap. And yeah, Tom down in 12th at the moment, just started his next one in this session. He's going to be one to keep an eye on. Like you say, Wouters hasn't really had the pace. Even though he's second in the championship at the moment, Wouters hasn't had the pace to be on the podium ever since the first round of the season. Of course, got the first win of the season, but hasn't been near the podium since. So he's not really had the pace. Tom has been the one that's had the pace to win races so far in this championship and currently in third. So we've got to look to him to be maybe the only one pace-wise that can maybe challenge Dinerco for this title at the moment. So 12th is not where the Mercedes driver would want to be. And speaking of Mercedes as well, going into the Manufacturers Championship, which we haven't really touched on so far, they are dead level at the top of the Manufacturers Championship with Ferrari as it stands. And unfortunately for Mercedes, they are a driver down tonight. So Tom's going to be manning the fort for Mercedes, trying to keep themselves in the lead or very close to Ferrari when there's 2 against 1 at the moment. Unfortunately, Ferrari, they are first and last at the moment in qualifying. Nisha's not had a great qualifying so far, as I'm just looking to see who was on lap. Kitas, I believe, backed off his lap as Tom comes towards the end of his. He's nearly 2 tenths up on his lap, so this should be comfortably into the 14s. Can he find anything in the final sector of the lap? Oh, he has a big snap of oversteer out of the final corner, and that's going to ruin his run all the way to the line. And there we go, he loses a bit more time and ends up only 10th by the end of that run. So there's still more time in it for Tom as Marcados improves to go back up to P4.
There we go then. So Marcados is showing he's not a one-trick pony right now in Imola. He's definitely finding his form here at the moment. We've got a few more about to finish off their second runs as we got Nam up to the line. He's about 2 tenths up in the middle sector. What can he find in the final sector? He's almost 4 tenths up in the final sector, so he found an extra temp to put himself into P6. We've got an Alfa Romeo up to the line. I believe that was H Eagle in 16th place. We got one of the Aston Martins. Romanini, he doesn't improve. He is going to go for a next... Oh, actually, no, he was on his outlap, so he's going on another run. At the moment, Philip Wouters is going into the pit. We got Mishu, I believe, is going to go into the pit as well as his teammate. So those two will be going on final runs very soon as well. And one thing to point out, because we won't have time to talk about it in the race because there's no formation lap again tonight, is the curb. That's going to be absolutely hell tonight. I raced a race around Imola on Friday, and the start couldn't take a toll of the drivers. I think we saw 4 drivers were taken out on the first lap near Tamburello, and that caused a lot of carnage and an early safety car as well in PSF2. Hopefully we won't see the same here as well, but that curve is quite different to all the other tracks on the calendars. We saw Oggiano coming across the line there and going to P1 9 thousandths quicker than Dinerco. Oggiano was near the front last week as well, so not really a surprise to see him up there. 2 Ferrari-powered cars, P1 and P2.
Yeah, not a surprise, like you say, to see Oggiano at the front. I believe he's had a pole already this season as Oggiano, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, great to see him at the top of the timesheets once again, as everybody's just coming into the pits now, getting ready for their final runs. I was riding on board with Romanino, who was 2 tenths of a second up, but lost the rear of the car coming out the very outer chicane. So that time would have probably been a low 1 minute 14.7, so he could have been jumped right back into the top 10 in and around where his teammate currently is at the moment. So still a few drivers a bit further down the field that you would expect to be able to put a better time on the board. Tom, obviously one of those who's seen a mistake for them. Philip Wouters only 11th at the moment. And that is the problem championship-wise, isn't it? Dinerco, yet again, at the front of the field, second position at the moment, and his 2 closest rivals in the championship are 12th and 13th. The only other driver that's, you've got to say, really in contention now is Rudy, and Rudy's only 9th at the moment. So Dinerco comfortably ahead of all of his championship rivals in this qualifying session. So that is one thing that those drivers are really going to have to try and alter in this very final part of this qualifying session. They want to try and get as close to Dinerco, if not ahead, as they can. So that's going to be something very interesting for them to look out for, as I think the first person to start their final run is going to be Jensen. And yet again, Jensen just doesn't look comfortable, does he? I thought Jensen would kind of be in his stride by now in this season. He started off the season really struggling, but managed to get some decent results. But he's just not really found his feet yet, has he, on this game? He just doesn't look too comfortable in F1 22.
No, and I think he was one of the drivers that quite a lot of people, including James Head, on Twitter, saying that Jensen could do well this season on F1 22. He was looking quite good in social races, he said, but now he's down in 17th position. He's only scored a few points in this championship, only 14 points, currently sitting 11th in the standings. Got a lot to live up to at the moment, but maybe he'll start to come alive in the second season, as there's a lot of traffic going through the Villeneuve chicane as Jensen heads towards that now, 5 and 6. Heading towards Tota as he goes up the hill as well, and that's where we saw Lewis Hamilton go off as well, which brought our safety car, as we've got I think a few people just backing off their laps from Jensen's way. Anyway, everyone's going to start their final runs now. We'll keep an eye. I don't know how Jensen got away with that, but he is going to abort his run. I think he realised that even if he did get away with that, he would probably get a penalty, because I think that was one of the corners that the stewards put in their briefing, were told to keep an eye on. So that's why Jensen has backed off, which is fair enough. Sometimes you get away with certain corners on the track, and if you do get caught, well, you're probably going to leave your bed and lie on it at the moment. But we've got more people on laps. Let's ride on board with Philip Wouters, who will be next after Jensen to finish, and he's, I believe, aborted his run as well. It's a quite common theme at the moment with people aborting their runs. I'm guessing people are going on to run on a set of tyres, but at least it gets their tyres warmed up for the final few rounds. I don't think we're going to see the softs around it, because they don't last long at all unless there's a potential late safety car, which could be quite common. But Wouters is going to be starting his final run. So is Jensen. Everybody else is going to be on their final runs as well. We'll see if anyone can top Oggiano for pole position.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on some drivers at the front of the field. Assecomb's on a lap at the moment, so is Nikita. Assecomb's kind of dead level with his personal best at the moment, so can Assecombe find anything maybe in the final sector? I think one of the McLarens, Ray's going to be the first to complete their qualifying session. Currently in 6th, crosses the line, stays 6th, doesn't improve, so didn't find anything on that final run. So Assecombe and Nikita will be next. Can they get onto provisional pole? Assecombe cannot, only improves by 0.03 of a second. Nikita crosses the line. Wow, that is a final sector from Nikita. Blimey, he was 0.02 of a second down on his personal best going through the second sector split, and has ended up 0.2 improvement and is nearly 0.2 clear at the top. That is going to take some beating.
That is going to take some beating, like you're saying, but we've got more people coming up to the line. We've got H. Eagle coming across the line. He can only manage 15th. We've got a Red Bull up to the line. No, that was Fab, but he can only manage 17th. Margaros doesn't improve on this time, but he stays 6th at the moment. What about Nemaya? He comes up to the line. 6th place, just pits Margaros by 100th of a second. That's how tight it is here at PSGL PSF1. Jensen will be the next across the line. He can only manage 7th position. I believe Dan Erko is not going to be going across the line because he aborted his run, so he's not going to manage pole position. I did see Cazizzo have a bit of a spin. Unfortunately, he's retired from the session. Tom could only manage 6th, but he still gets into the 114.6 at the moment. What about Dan Erko's teammate? He aborts his run as well. And then we've got Fede, who's going up to the line. He's aborted his run as well. So it is Chiquita who is on pole position, and I believe will be another pole sitter. The only person to get pole twice this season is Cazizzo. So this is our 6th pole sitter from 7 races. That is pretty good.
Yeah, it just goes to show on one lap pace how close this field is, doesn't it? But that is some storming final run from Nikita. Like I said, to be 200s down at the end of the second sector split and then find over 0.2 of a second on his personal best in that final sector is amazing. Especially considering it is a very short final sector here. There's not many. There's only really 4 corners, so he's found a lot of time in that final part of the lap to go 1.5 tenths clear of the field around this track, and the rest of the field is only split by just over 0.4 of a second. So that is a very good drive from Nikita. And I did say at the start of this stream, I don't want to toot my own horn a little bit, but I did say that Williams pair could be the ones to look out for them starting to pick up the pace towards the end of the season. And Nikita, for the time being at least, has proved me somewhat right because he is comfortably on pole position.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go through your results before we head on to our quick word from our sponsors. So we've got an Italian 1, 2, 3, 4 on Italian soil. That is pretty crazy for me. So we've got Chiquita, Oggiano, Danerco, Assecombe in 4th. We've got Rudy in 5th, Tom in 6th, Nemaya 7th, Jensen 8th, Marcados 9th, and Ray rounds up your top 10. Now we've got Nam, Legend, Romanino, Philip Wouters, Mish, H. Eagle, Cazizzo, Fabi, and Fede round up the rest of your grid. But before we head into the race, we are going to have a quick word from one of our title sponsors, GT Omega. Right then, welcome back to PSGL PSF1. We're round number 7 of the season for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, set here in Imola for the second round of the Italian doubleheader. We got myself and Aidan Carter taking you through the action, and we've got our 6th different pole sitter this season of Chiquita in the Williams, as we got 30 seconds counting down on the clock, and we're just about to get started at this moment in time. So we're going to be in for quite a close race. Watch out for the run to Tamburello. Turn 1 is not a braking zone, it's a king. Turn 2 will be the first braking zone around this circuit. And then we've got obviously the Villeneuve chicane, Tosa, then we've got Piratella, Aquamurali, where we see quite a few people had a bit of a moment earlier on in qualifying, and all the other tiers at the moment. But we're about to get going with the 5 red lights as Orgiano has just joined. But anyway, 5 red lights coming up on your screen. We've got Chiquita on pole, Orgiano alongside, and we are underway for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And it looks like the AI over Orgiano's got a very good start, but Chiquita's start not too bad. We'll see what Danerco could do heading towards turn number 1. So Chiquita's covered off Danerco there quite nicely indeed. It looks like everybody's made through turns 1 and 2 very, very well. So looks like that they got rid of the dreadedness of turn 1 and 2. But we'll see what they do with the Villeneuve chicane at the moment, as Ray trying to get past Namaida up into 8th place, as Jensen tries to get past Ray now as well. So Ray struggling now as they head towards Tosa chicane at the moment. Let's hope Orgiano could join his car very, very soon, as he's the only driver on the medium tyres. Everyone has opted for the hard compounded tyres, which was the same as it was in F2 earlier on, as Marcos has had a bit of a spin there. So his really good qualifying session has not translated into the race. He's now down in dead last. But everybody else has had really good starts. Saying that, Nam has now dropped down to the rest near the back of the field, and so has Philip Bouts as well. So, and Tom's had a bit of a moment as well. Sorry to cut you, but there's lots of moments that have happened already, and he had a bit of a tank slapper going through the Variante Alta, but Orgiano leads the way with Chiquita in P2.
Yeah, Chiquita in P2, like I say, Orgiano's AI car on the medium compound tyre off to a good start, but that's kind of what you would expect. But he's obviously been put on the back foot, unfortunately, by being put on a different set of tyres now, so that is going to be something he's going to have to worry about for the rest of this race. And yeah, we were saying earlier on in qualifying that Danerco is comfortably ahead of his championship rivals. Tom managed to get a bit closer in qualifying, but both Wouters and Tom making mistakes on the first lap of the race, and they're down in 14th and 17th when everybody is on the same strategy bar Orgiano. So that is going to be so difficult for them to work their way back through the field. Just looking at positions gained at the start as well. Before his spin, Marcos was up 4 places before his spin, which is such a shame to see. Kazizel is the biggest gainer on the opening lap, from 17th up to 11th on the first lap around a track that's pretty difficult to overtake on. So great start from Kazizel's got those hard tyres up to temperature nicely quickly. Mish and Fabi are also both up 5 places, so they've had good starts. And good for Ferrari as well to have both of their cars inside the top 10 at the moment, manufacturers-wise, while their closest rivals, Mercedes, in the championship. Only one driver in tonight, and Tom is currently down in 17th, so not the start they would have wanted, as Orgiano clears off into the distance, but I don't think Yukita's too worried about Orgiano at the moment.
Nope, he is not. He knows it's a long race. We've got 32 laps of this Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It is going to be a hard to medium strategy as well. And these hards are a very good race tyre around here. They could go on for so long around here, so they can stay a little bit longer, just like we've seen in Mexico City, where we saw the hard tyres go on for a bit longer and people were able to extend their stints. We'll get the tyres up just a little bit once again at the moment. We are heading into a DRS train right now, as I found out on Friday. DRS trains are not a very nice position to be in around Imola as well, due to the fact that there is a little bit of dirty air, not as much dirty air as the last game, because the cars are designed to follow closely to each other compared to obviously F1 2021. But we got Rudy the closest of anyone trying to get past Asacone, but Orgiano has broke free of DRS, so Chiquita is going to be the one that's going to be the most vulnerable, but Danerco can't get close enough to Chiquita at all, so it may be down to people running a higher downforce setup and running more downforce around his circuit. A few people will probably be running around about I don't know, I can't remember. I think it was about 47, 48 wings to 50, or I might have got my tracks mixed up with another track that I was running in over the weekend. But we are about to go into the DRS zone, and we pass Rabats, and then we go on to the Variante Bassa, which we saw Rubens Barrichello famously implode and had a little bit of an accident back in '94, but luckily, obviously, he was okay back in the day as well. As Rudy not quite close enough. Looks like Ascombe has the better straight line speed. Going in towards turn 2, Rudy gaining on the corners as well. We're seeing with the ERS deployment, it is a lot easier to save around here, but we're seeing more people being a little bit patient with ERS and managing it quite well compared to some other tracks. As Orgiano has had a bit of a spin, Phil Villeneuve, he was your race leader, now he's not. He's down in P6, your race leader is now our pole sitter of Chiquita. Danerco is now in P2.
Yeah, if Orgiano had stood any chance really of getting a result out of this race with the strategy he was on, he needed to continue pulling away from the front of the field, and that's no longer going to be the case. So, yeah, Orgiano spinning himself pretty much out of contention for a good result now, and he's still lagging all over the place a little bit. So I do worry that he is going to cause a few issues for some other drivers, as Ray actually makes a mistake in Minerale, and Jensen's on the back, but not quite close enough to make a move yet is Jensen, so he'll stay behind for the time being in 8th position. And just seeing as well, Danerco. Oh, actually, I was just about to say Yukita does really well in that final sector, but Danerco all over the back of Yukita this time around. I wonder if the Williams driver has made a mistake at the top of the hill at the very anti-outer. Is Danerco close enough to make a move down towards turn 1? Does he want to make a move in towards turn 1 is the question as well. He's using a lot of ERS. Yukita's not using a lot to defend, and Danerco is going to breeze on past through the kink of turn number 1 and take the lead of this race then. So a little bit of an error from the Williams driver in the lead of this race, and that's let Danerco through, and now it's Yukita's job to try and retake the lead back if he can.
Yeah, Danerco at his home Grand Prix, doing the Tifosi proud at the moment as well. They were absolutely cheering down there as well, and I think it was great to see the atmosphere in Danville as well have something similar with the Max Verstappen fans with their orange t-shirt as well. And I think we're seeing the Ferrari flags going out in full force here today at the moment, and that's throwing a few feathers on Orgiano down in 6th place. His tyres wouldn't be very good at the moment, down in P6 at the moment, because those tyres will have to last quite a bit into this Grand Prix, and he'll have to pit earlier on than the other drivers. Marcados had to pit quite early as well. He was started on the hard tyres, and now he is on the medium compounded tyres as well. As Orgiano is definitely having some connection issues today, and luckily it's not just me that's having him lagging on my screen. Aiden's saw Orgiano lagging as well, so he does have a few connection issues, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully he'll come back soon. As Namayo has jumped up into 5th position and is closing up onto the back of Rudy, but Chiquita not able to take advantage of Orgiano's spinning, and Orgiano's gone into the pit and he has retired from the session. What a shame from Orgiano after a very good start. His race is over, but it may be down to obviously his connection. He may be just decided that he didn't want to cause too much trouble. He may be having enough of this race. So Orgiano is your first retirement from our 19-car grid today. Everyone else is still in this race right now, and don't forget that in PSGL, if you get P1 you get 16 points, up to P10 you get 1 point. The top 10 do score points, and if you do get fastest lap inside the top 10 you get an extra point. If you're outside the top 10 and get fastest lap, then no points at this stage. Again, no one is able to make the moves yet, but you don't want to go for moves too early on, because people may start to pick up the pace a bit and they may start to go for moves. It may just go for a little bit of a chain reaction at the moment. Ascombe doing a lot better this week, showing more of his form down in P3 right now, not making too much mistakes, but he's got Rudy under pressure with him at the moment behind him, and also Namayo as well, so he's got to pick up the pace with the guys in front, but he knows there's going to be a long race ahead of him, and he knows obviously Ascombe is yet to win a race, whereas Rudy has, so Ascombe has a lot more to fight for. But we'll see if Rudy can gain a bit on the straight here as we head towards turn number 1 and 2 of Tamburello then as well. As you can see, Danerco pulling away from Chiquita just a little bit, heading towards turn 2, and Rudy takes that curve very, very well as they head towards turn number 3 as well, and that's where we can see a lot of people slide and go to the wall on the right hand side, but Rudy is not gaining as much as we would have liked at the moment, which is breathing a sigh of relief for Ascombe, but he's gained quite a little bit going into Toto actually, so yeah, he's definitely suited to more of the corners, his setup, Rudy is.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way, doesn't it? It looks like Rudy's got something that's a bit better in the middle part of the lap, but Ascombe's able to hold on nicely down the pit straight. We've got everybody in the DRS train down to 16th, apart from, of course, Nam and Marcados, who had their own incidents on the first lap of the race. So it's everybody in the train at the moment. I'm just trying to see who looks like is going to be the first person potentially to drop out of that train. And at the moment, it's looking like the second Ferrari of me. She's kind of teetering on the edge of DRS range to Legend in front. So it's looking like the top 8 might be about to just stretch away from the rest of the field. But Mish just about hanging on for the time being. So we'll keep an eye on what the Ferrari man can do, whether he can hold on or whether he just fade away as the tyre grip falls away from these hard compound tyres. And yeah, Daneco in the lead of this race, not pushing too hard. He's got plenty of ERS in his back pocket to use. Nikita, the same, has kind of saved up some of the stuff that he used from earlier on, trying to defend the lead, but he's not really anywhere near close enough to be threatening Daneco at this point in the race. So I think Daneco just sitting pretty comfortably, as he always does in the race conditions. He's nice and reserved and yeah, keeping it relaxed at the moment in the lead of this race, not looking under any pressure at all. And yeah, you've got to say Rudy is the one that is probably the most eager to get a move done, but being in a train like this, it's pretty impossible to do that. And Jensen, the other Alpine as well, trying to get a move done on Ray, as I believe Nam has retired in the pit lane, which is not really a surprise considering how far back he now was.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. Another retirement in the pit lane. You are encouraged in league racing to not give up, even if you're a lap down or a few seconds down from the cars behind. But that means more chances for people inside the top 10, a few positions below that, to fight for points. So that is a rival gone for some of the drivers at this moment in time. Jensen doing a lot better in P7 in that Alpine, heading towards the Variante Alta right now as well. We can see more people start to close in as the pit stop phase is coming up very soon as well. And like other tracks, the pit window is quite similar to the tyre. There's only a few laps difference as well, so safety cars could change things massively. If a safety car was to come out now, going on the mediums would not be the best idea. Hards will get to the end, but if it was a few laps later, then the mediums wouldn't do too bad. But you just got to watch out for the pace drop off at the end of this race. And Daneco is proving that having a better qualifying result in Imola is definitely showing, because him starting in P3 compared to him starting I think 5th last week, is just showing that you only need to make a few positions to get into P1 at the moment. But he's not too worried right now into P1. He's just concentrating on his pace. He does know everyone else is behind him on a big train. The only one who's not in that train, who's still going, which is great to see, is Markados on the mediums down in 17th position. So the top 16 still have a really reasonable chance of winning this race. All it takes is for one driver to make a mistake up front, and then you'll be able to climb your way through the field right now. As we're starting to see a move from Tom actually through the Variante Alta there. Nicely done from him in the Mercedes, up to 13th place. Not quite where he wants to be at the moment in terms of championship wise, but he really needs to gain a few more places for him to stay in this championship fight, because like you were saying earlier, we only have a few more rounds of this championship still to go. Of course, we've got Brazil next week, we've got Jeddah straight after that, then we got Austin, and then we got Silverstone. We did have Abu Dhabi on in the calendar, but it got removed due to the track limits that were exploited around that circuit, which is a bit of a shame because we can't race around the updated layout. But maybe in next season, in season 32, we could race around there. So Tom is now up into 13th place, and Maya is now out of DRS range of Rudy, so maybe Ray could challenge the Maya for P5 at the moment then. So when will be the best time to go into the pits for set medium tyres? Probably halfway towards this race, maybe around lap 15, 16, probably a little bit before for the undercut potentially. Who would you see would potentially go for that undercut?
I think the ones we're going to see going in early are the ones that are kind of leading the separating trains at the moment, the ones that are starting to struggle on the hard compound tyres. We've seen it many a time this season where drivers come in a bit earlier and try and force everybody into pitting earlier than they want. We've seen it, I think especially Belgium stands out to mind as one of those ones where that definitely happens. So we'll have to keep an eye on who will come in. I think we'll see probably the first driver attempt to pit stop probably about the halfway distance, like I mentioned, probably about 16 or 17. You would probably see them in. They can get to the end from there. They're not going to be great, but they will have a bit more pace than the hard compound tyres. And actually, Namaya's been able to get back in DRS and has dropped Ray in the process. So Ray is now the first driver in this train without DRS and has no ERS either. So this is going to make it very easy for Jensen to just drift on past down the pit straight. And at the same time, Kazissel's going to get the move done on Mish as well. Mish has lost DRS on that lap. So Kazissel now up into 9th place. Mish drops down into 10th. Jensen then up into 6th. And we're talking all in qualifying about Jensen not feeling too comfortable, as Mish actually, just after being overtaken, has now spun. So all those places he gained on the opening lap, he was up 6 places He's lost all of them now with that spin, so that is a real shame for the Ferrari driver. Having one of his better showings so far this season is now spun pretty much completely out of contention. But as I was saying, before we got into this race, we were talking about Jensen not feeling too comfortable on this game, but this is probably the best we've seen from Jensen for a long time in this championship. He's not really shown much speed as of recently. Of course, got a podium in Miami, but other than that, he's not finished higher than 8th, I believe, in any race this season. So this is higher than we've seen so far from him since Miami. But the problem for him now is he's used a bit of ERS to get past Ray and doesn't have the pace, it seems, to re-catch Nemaya. So it's very possible that Ray and Legend are just going to try and re-pass him down the next straight again.
Yes, and once you get into the 10% zone of ERS, then you lose quite a lot of power on the straight as well. And with the likes of Ray being on the same amount, that might take an advantage. But like the likes of Legend, who's got 50% ERS, 40% more ERS than you, then you're really going to be vulnerable. As you can see at the moment, that is really starting to show from Ray. So I think if I were Jensen, I'll be very worried as Ray and Legend go towards turn number 1 and 2. A bit of a slide there into Tamburello, but I think they both kept it on the road. I think they were both very, very smart to not make contact there. Some very good racing as Romanino is out of this race. Now, that is not a pit lane retirement. That is a bin through Villeneuve, and that is, I believe, a safety car. Yeah, there is a safety car. I see a yellow dot, so I did say safety cars can change the full course of this race. This is good news for your Marcados. If you do have a set of hard tyres left, you can pit onto them. I believe he was only on the hard tyres for 1 lap, so he can go on them till the end of this race, but I don't know what you would do if you're on the hard compounded tyres. I've got it noted down somewhere when you would pit. You would pit on the mediums onto the hards on lap 14, and you would wait till lap 18 to go onto the mediums. So not the ideal of time, but I wonder if we'll see people going for risk. I think we saw people taking similar risks in the PC tiers earlier on in the week, like with F2, F3, in the ones that were streamed earlier on in the week. We'll see what Denerco could do. I know Denerco likes to take some risks, of course. He's going to take the risk. Why not? It's his home track. Chiquita also takes the risk. Ascone does as well. Not really that surprised. You've got to take a free pit stop. You will be at a reduced pace in the safety car. It could just about get to the end, but the tyres will fall off the edge of a cliff. So everyone who has started on the hards is going into the pits onto a set of the medium compounded tyres. And I think Marcados will go onto a set of the hards again very soon to get to the end. So that's pretty much everybody in the pit. Ooh, but Mish has probably had done a bit of a blower there. He's got caught up in the pit lane and he's gone to a set of soft tyres. I know that after doing a race around here, soft don't last very long. Mish will have to pit again very soon, but maybe he's seeing something that we are not potentially. Maybe there could be some rain on the horizon, but if there's not, he's going to be in a spot of bother. I think he might have made the wrong decision now. Maybe he wanted to select mediums, but the game pitted onto soft tyres. Not good for him.
No, not good at all. But yeah, like you said, I think the only really explanation for that is that he either thinks there's rain coming very soon, like you mentioned, or he doesn't think that the mediums can get to the end and he's going to do a double stint on the softs instead. I think because Marcados isn't that far behind, we're going to get going fairly quickly again. Marcados, by the way, has pit back onto the hards he started on. So I think Marcados here is the only one in the field that can genuinely probably get to the end of the race without tyre wear really having an effect on his race. So got to keep an eye out for Marcados at the end of this race. But if we get no safety cars from here to the end, then these medium tyre runners are going to struggle a lot at the end of this race with tyre wear, and Marcados could be picking them off one by one on hard tyres that may not be as fast at the start, but will last a lot better towards the end. So yeah, keep an eye on what Marcados can do. Can he work his way back through the field? I think a lot of these drivers on the mediums are going to be at a spot of bother, because at the moment, 19 laps, we've got 18 laps when we cross the line, and I think we'll be going again at the end of that. So 17 laps on a set of medium compound tyres. It's doable in terms of percentage wear, but I don't think they're going to have any pace by the end of it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who can manage these tyres the best. I think this is now more about who can manage the tyres best more than anything else, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Denerco just back off a little bit and keep everybody in a DRS train again, just so that he can preserve his tyres. Yeah,
according to the tyre data that I have written down for this Imola circuit, it can last 17 laps, but optimal pace 15, 14 laps will be the ideal tyre length for those medium tyres. So yes, I have to agree with you that these tyres will not have the same pace for the entirety of the race. So keep an eye on, like I said, on Marcados. But he's really got to be on the pace from the get-go. If he's not, then the advantage you'll have at the end will just become non-existent, as Fede has gone on to set up the hard tyres. Now, for those of you new to F1 22, they only have one set of mediums and one set of hards to use for the entirety of the weekend. In qualifying, they only have the softs, but in the race, they only have one set of mediums, one set of hards, and then the amount of softs that they have remaining from qualifying. So if you haven't used, so if you only had one free set remaining, you use that for the race if you want to, and go into pit onto them as well. So the sets you don't use in qualifying, use in the race. And for me, it comes a bit of a cropper with these kind of situations when you only have one set of mediums and one set of hards. Because what if there's more safety cars? We were used to that in the last game. If there was another safety car, a lot of people would potentially go on to accept the mediums or the hard compound tires to the end on fresher grip, just to have the better pace advantage for people on scrub sets. But you can't really have that on this game. So it'll be interesting to see how everybody can do. Nobody at the moment in the top 16 that are still in this race have got time penalties as well, but there will be a few people on some warnings. I found that it's too easy for me to at least get warnings here at the moment. We've got 3 retirements so far, 2 of them retired in the pit lane. The Aston Martin and Romanino, the reserve driver for today, retired near the Villeneuve chicane, which was a bit of a shame there. But we are about to get, no, we're not about to get underway. The safety car will be in for one more lap, as Fede is not quite caught up to the safety car yet at the moment, but we'll see who's going to gain quite the most out of that safety car restart. And the ones to gain the most, I think, from all of this is definitely Fabi. Fabi has gained 8 places so far in this race. He pitted, he waited for a little bit to go into the pits, and that was very, very good to see. Another person who's gained, Valve has gained 5 places. Legend up 4, because he's all up 5, H-Eagle up 3, but not quite in the points yet. Jakita's the only one to really have lost positions, as well as Markadov's down 5 and down 1 respectively as well. And obviously our championship leader, Dan Urko, has gained 2 positions off the line as well. But we'll see what Dan Urko can do. He's done safety car restarts before. I'm very excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, it's exciting to see what he can do. I think the medium runners, I think, are a bit thankful that Fede actually came in to serve his 5-second speeding penalty, because without that we would have got going on that lap. So now they've got an extra lap to keep some percentage wear down on their tyres. So I think they'll be thanking Fede for speeding in the pit lane in that sense, because it's helped them out no end to get to the end of this race on this medium compound tyres. So yeah, Fede will catch back now. He's put back on those medium compound tyres after serving that penalty. So smart move there from Fede. He was at the back anyway. He may as well get rid of the penalty while he still can. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what these drivers can do in the pit lane. By the way, Tom was held up, obviously being first in the pit lane. The Merc pit stop here isn't really great with the pit stops as they are in this game. So Tom got held up quite a bit, as did Kazizel. Kazizel dropped quite a few places, having been held up behind Ray, because they were nose to tail going into the pit lane, which is why they've dropped a bit further down the field.
Yes, so I believe safety cars should be coming in right now. And usually when I call safety cars, it doesn't come in. So it is coming in. Okay, it didn't come up on my screen. I probably wasn't paying attention. But anyway, we're about to go underway, heading towards Ravazza now. Danurko, is he going to have a choice of leaving it late, or is he going to go right now? He is going to leave it a little bit later than normal. He's going to probably wait for the pit lane entry line to do so. No, he's leaving it late. Is he going? He's going. He's going. Okay, he's going. And we're underway once again, as we've already had a little bit of a moment for Chiquita there. He was in second, now he's in 5th position. And he's been under pressure from the Meyer, Ray and Ascombe as well. Rudy is up into 2nd position. But Nurko is already pulling away from the rest of the field. Let's see how they do. Turn 1 as Ray has gone into a little bit of a spin. In down to last place at the moment. That is a bit of a shame. That will probably be the first race. He won't score points. But Nurko timed that restart perfectly. He caught everyone else napping. Lamaya had a really good restart as well. He's up to 3rd. Jakita is trying to gain up for lost time. He's up into 4th place at the moment. Ascombe now down into 6th place. Everybody just so close at the moment, but Dan Urko absolutely timed it to perfection. H-Eagle was about to gain another place, but Kazizel has gained that position back, so H-Eagle is back down to 12th, but he got past Markados off the line due to the fresher rubber on the medium tyres, and wasn't on a scrub set. Tom now back in the point. He's had a good start as well, up in to 10th position. So wow, Dan Urko left it a little bit late, but to be honest, that's what you got to do. Make sure you caught your rivals unawares and do your best, because otherwise you'll be caught unawares and you may be overtaken for the race lead. So Danerko doing the right thing there, but there was a lot of people that got caught out by that.
Yeah, Rudy now his next challenger. Rudy actually fastest lap of the race that time around, so Rudy has used a lot of ERS on that lap to try and keep as close to Danerko as possible. I was on board with Asacombe for that restart, and I feel bad for Yukita because Asacombe just kind of drove into the side of the Williams driver before the start of the pit straight, and that got Yukita out of line, and it ghosted his car at the same time as well, which meant he just got breezed past by a lot of cars. And I think Yukita almost returned the favour at the toes of the hairpin. He sent it down the inside of the AlphaTauri and left the AlphaTauri no room at all, and that allowed Legend to get through, who's now up into 5th place and looking potentially at another podium finish. Podium finish last time out in Monza as a reserve, and he's now in the top 5 in that Haas. I think Haas are a bit upset maybe that he wasn't a full-time driver for the Haas team this season, because he's doing a brilliant job at the moment, is Legend. But yeah, he's now 5th, and Nikita is his next target in 4th position. But the biggest gainer out of all of that is Nemaya, up now into 3rd position. Best result of the season last time out in Monza, and now running in 3rd after all of that carnage at the safety car restart. So Nemaya here looking at potentially his first podium in the season. Can he challenge Rudy and Danerko though for the win of this race? Danerko out front, most DRS of the 3, but only 4/10 back to Rudy. So when DRS is enabled this time around, Rudy is well within striking range.
Yeah, definitely. Nemaya, though, had some really bad luck last season in F2 around this track, of course. He was fighting with Tom for the F2 championship, and unfortunately he was near the back, and that allowed Tom to win the championship around this very circuit as well. So Tom not obviously doing too well here in the PSF1, but it is a high tier compared to F2. But Nemaya definitely redeeming himself after a poor showing in Imola. He was plagued with bad luck last season around this track, so it's good to see that he is improving as well, and he has learned from his mistake as well, and really starting to get in this DRS train as well. And I think the top 3 are definitely on a league of their own at the moment, because the nearest car, Chiquita, is 9/10 back from this top 3 as well. But Legend, I think, is keen to spoil the party, but he is not, because he's out of DRS range. So we've got 2 DRS trains right now, Legend being the head of one of them and Danerko being the head of the other. We'll see who's going to take the advantage of most of it as well. Eagle again is 1 place shy of getting his first point of the season as well. We keep talking about it, just like we talk about last season with George Russell in real life, Mick Schumacher getting their first points. When's it going to happen for the Alfa Romeo driver? Maybe this could be it, but I'm not going to say things too much, because if I do, he probably won't get a point. So we will see how he manages for the final half of the race. We've already done just over halfway of this Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and we've still got quite a fair bit to go. Still got quite some moments of the tail to fulfill at this moment in time, as Rudy's, I think, around 2/10 shy of Danerko at the moment, but Danerko just has that pure pace on the straights right now. We'll see what Rudy could do around the corners, and Tota is where you can really gain and try and go for a move if someone goes a bit wide or make a mistake, because sometimes, like me around here a few days ago, you can lose your momentum heading through into Tota corner. Now heading towards Pirotella, now heading towards turn 9 as well, at Murali as well, where we saw Nicholas Latifi and a certain Haas driver from last season. Not going to name them because he doesn't deserve to be named. Made contact there during the race in the rain, which brought out the safety car. But Rudy has dropped a little bit of time on Danerko there through that chicane. He's lost about 3 or 4 attempts, so he's got a lot of ground to make up. Fede could try and get past Mish. Don't forget he served that 5-second penalty, so he's got no penalties to his name. Tom is the only driver out of the whole field to get a time penalty, so if the race was to end like this, he could drop outside the point, as Ray has got past Fede into Avatsa, and he's now up into P15. But Rudy starting to get a bit more ground on Danerko in this first sector into the start-finish straight. As all Legend trying to go side by side into turn 2. As all Ascombe just cut the corner there as well, and luckily he let Legend through, but that was very, very close to contact there. That could have been disaster for both drivers involved, but I think Ascombe learned to back off a little bit there. But I wonder if Ascombe got warned for the game for that.
Yeah, I'm sure he must have, because he floored it across the curb. But I mean, I don't think Hazelcombe really had much of a choice there. Legend kind of slammed the door on him. I think he was entitled to do so. He was half a car ahead, but Ascombe didn't back out in time to recognise that, so he ended up off the road. So I hope that Ascombe's not picked up any sort of floor damage or anything from that, potentially bouncing over those curves. We shall wait and see. One thing to note as well in that whole safety car restart that we kind of missed is how much of a disaster that was for McLaren. Of course, Ray up there when it's fighting inside the top 5 because this all held up in the pit lane. I think Cazzizzle potentially has some sort of damage on the front of that car because he is really struggling to keep up with the train in front, and you don't usually see that from a driver of the caliber of Cazzizzle. So I do think there's potentially some damage on that car, and of course Ray bounced off the side of the Maya at Chamberello chicane at the safety car restart, which is why he's down in 15th place. So yeah, real shame for the McLaren team. They've not had a great race so far, and of course they're joint third at the moment in the manufacturers with Alpine, and Alpine, as it stands, having a great race as it looks so far. Rudy currently in second, keeping the pressure on Denurko, and Jensen currently sitting in a comfortable 7th place. So Alpine looking pretty good manufacturers wise. As Nikita back in DRS range, he pushed so hard, he used up all of his ERS to get back within DRS range, and now he's just sitting there trying to rebuild the ERS that he once had. So that is why he's currently maybe a little bit distant in 4th and a little bit lower on ERS. He's just trying to build up what he used to get back within range. So I think it's just, again, what we saw at the start of the race in that hard train. We're just now waiting for one driver to pull the pin and make the move, and then all the moves will start coming. We'll wait and see who it is. But based on what we've seen so far, just got to keep an eye on Rudy on the straight next time around. But Rudy, I think, has got a very good car in a straight line. He seems to gain a lot of time without using a lot of ERS. So keep an eye on that one. That could be something that we need to look at later on in this race.
Yes, we've got 2 drivers in the top 2 that have won a race this season. Denurko, of course, winning 2 races this season, whereas Rudy won the last one in Monza. And I did say in my tweet earlier on, can Rudy make it 2 for 2 in Italian soil and spoil the Italian party? But he's definitely looking like he's going to challenge Denurko at the moment. Of course, Denurko not winning since Mexico. He got a podium in Japan, but that was the closest he got to the Champagne. He didn't get on the podium in Monza, but he's looking like he's going to take the top step at the moment. Still a long way to go. 11 laps to go of this Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Namaya is now looking even more racy than ever at the moment because these two keep squabbling. Namaya is able to close in, and the more people keep squabbling up front, that allows the likes of Yukita, Legend, Ascombe, Jensen to spoil the fun as well. But we are starting to see more people get into their feet, finding a little bit of rhythm. Not many people are starting to make mistakes at the moment. They're praying that there's not going to be any more safety cars to ruin people's fun at the moment. And it's still looking quite sunny. No threat of rain at the moment. Everybody is now on the medium tide except Markados on the hard compounder tyres. And Markados, unfortunately, nowhere near this train. Same with Mish. So if Markados really wants to have a chance of even getting into the top 10, he really needs to pick up the pace a little bit and get past Mish as soon as he can, because the hard tyres will really start to come into his own in around about 4 or 5 laps time, I would say, because the mediums won't last forever around this track. Speaking of Mish, actually, he's got a 3-second time penalty, so I believe Tom and Mish are the only 2 drivers to pick up time penalties in this race. Rudy's gained a little bit more speed into turn 2 once again, but Ray's now out of this race. He's retired in the pit lane. He decided he had enough, and I don't blame him because he's had a poor showing since the safety car restart. But I wonder if Rudy's just being a bit patient and waiting towards the end of this race, knowing that Denurko could potentially have the DRS towards the end of this Grand Prix, I wonder. So Rudy maybe just playing the waiting game, but the danger is everyone around him will be playing the waiting game too.
Yeah, we've seen this many a time where people wait to the last couple of laps or even the last lap itself to wait for the move. But we've seen it time and time again where they wait so long and get themselves so prepared for the final lap that they either make a mistake before we get to the final lap and aren't in close enough range to do so, or because, like you say, that everybody's waiting around them. Everybody's built their ERS up and they can't go for the move. So, yeah, Rudy, I think he wants to leave it a little bit longer, but I wouldn't want to leave it too late if I were Rudy. You don't want to leave it to the last 2 laps because you're just really... You're putting all of your eggs in one basket there in that sense, and you're just not going to be able to get the move done, especially if Denurko, like he is doing, is building up an ERS bank to help him defend. So I think Rudy's got to start to push and put Denurko under a bit of pressure, get him to use the ERS and then get past him. I think Rudy, with the straight line speed he's got, should be pretty decent. I mean, look at that, not using any ERS down that straight, and he closes best part of half a second on the back of the Ferrari without using any ERS. So the Alpine is good in the straight line. If he can get ahead on the road, he could be a real problem to overtake later on in the race. So just caught in the background, Nikita going a little bit wide out of Tamburello, but has just about gotten away with it. Is Legend close enough to pounce into Tosa? Not quite, but a little bit of a mistake there from Nikita coming out of Tamburello. So Nikita in 4th at the moment seems to be pushing quite hard to keep up with the top 3. The top 3 at the moment looking pretty comfortable as it stands. They're not looking under any threat from behind. I think they're just all focusing forwards. But Danerko, I mean, even if Danerko loses to Rudy in this race and ends up only second, it's still great for Danerko championship-wise because Rudy's 4th at the moment, and the two closest to him, Philip Wouters and Tom. Wouters is only 8th, and Tom, with that penalty, is not going to finish in the points at the moment.
Yeah, so Danerko, to be honest, has really got to pick his battles because you win the championship by consistency. You don't win a championship by getting the most wins of a season. Well, sometimes you do, but there may be people that get a lot more podiums than you, doesn't even get a win and wins the title because they finished every race, compared to maybe you that might DNF a race, and that make the difference between winning or even losing a championship. So Danerko, really, I think is going to win either way, but Rudy almost got the job done into turn 2, but Danerko closed the door very well indeed, so you can start to see Rudy is thinking about it ever so slightly. He's got the ERS to use it as well, so is Danerko as well, so it's going to be pretty much even Stevens between the two of them to see who will come out on top. I'm very much looking forward to seeing who's going to win this race out of the two of them. Don't count out Namaya, don't count out Chiquita as well, despite that spin. I may as well in a minute get a poll up on the PSGL YouTube channel to get your thoughts and opinions on who you think is going to be winning this race, because it's going to be very, very tight. Don't count out Legend and Ascombe. I think you're only allowed, 4 options in the poll, so I may put other in as well. But at the moment, let us know in chat who you think is going to get the win here today. Don't forget to check out our sponsors as well. Our title sponsor is GT Omega. You can get 5% off GT Omega products by clicking the link in the description, including you can get one of our chairs me and Aiden are currently sitting on right now. They're very, very comfy, by the way. It helps my back ever so nicely, especially as well. And also you can check out our other sponsor, Grid Rival, and you can join our F1 2022 Fantasy League by clicking the link in the description. So check out sponsors. Thank you to them. Without them, the league won't be as successful as it is. And make sure, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you are new. We got those out of the way, and Rudy has not closed up even more this lap as well, so I think he's in saving mode, so he's probably taking in turns to see which lap he's going to save and which lap he's going to go on for attack right now. Same with the other drivers too as well, and it looks like H Eagle's closed up a little bit more as well, so it's pretty much game on for the top 11 pretty much as well. And yeah, I don't know who's going to win this one, but I can't wait. But I'm going to get a poll together to see what you guys think at home is going to win this race.
Yeah, well, it'll be great to see what everybody can think for the poll, but I'm looking at Rudy here. I do think Rudy's sitting pretty comfortably. Look at the ERS at the top two, though, who've built Danerko a bit wobbly over that curb there, but Rudy now has 100% ERS and Danerko's on 90, so they are not pushing at all. They have saved so much ERS in this phase of this race, so when Rudy decides to unleash it, he is going to be so fast. But you can see he's a lot closer out of the final corner this time around than he has ever been. Is he going to use it now? He's used a little bit out of the final corner. Is he going to think about going for a move on Danerko into Tamburello this time around? Is he going to sit behind? He's closer than he's ever been. He's using a bit of ERS. Is he going to go for the move? Yes, he is. Down the inside. He looks down the inside of the Ferrari. Is he late enough on the brakes to pull the move off? Yes, he is. Danerko decides not to fight that one at all and lets Rudy into the lead. So with about 6 laps to go, Rudy takes over the lead of this race. So can Rudy now maybe even build a gap, or does he have enough straight line speed and ERS to be able to hold off Danerko for the rest of this race? So he's not waited to the end like we've seen so many drivers try in the past. He's gone for the move early on. Can he now hold off the Ferrari driver?
There we go. So I've put the poll in the chat. Who do you think is going to win at this race? And I think that really timed that very well. But will it be too little too late? Because the power of the DRS and ERS combined around Imola towards turn 1 and 2, it's absolutely massive with that straight line speed. So if Danerko could just stay behind Rudy for the next few laps and then get him when it counts on the final lap or even the penultimate lap, then that is when the race is either won or lost for Danerko. So I think Danerko's just going to wait a little bit, learn the lessons from what Rudy did at the moment. Maybe Rudy left it a little bit too early. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see as this race develops, because we don't have that long to go at all, as Tom gets past Fabi then up into 9th place. That is definitely what he needs, but Fabi is still going to get 9th place from Tom due to the fact that Tom does have a time penalty at this moment in time. And it looks like Rudy has got the most votes at the moment in terms of who people think should win this race. 50% of the votes for Rudy, 25% of the votes go to Dernurko, and 20% of the votes mean that other people, they think that some other drivers could be in contention, like Chiquita Legend at the moment. So thank you very much for voting so far, and if you have chosen another, by the way, let us know who else do you think could win this race, because I could only add 4 options, unfortunately. If I had more options, I would put the top 5, but unfortunately I couldn't do so at the moment, and Chiquita is definitely one of them. Could be within this chart as well. Nobody can make a mistake. I think we're getting to a point where it will be too late for a safety car, but we have both witnessed final lap shootouts for safety cars before. It was quite entertaining as well. Not as nice for the drivers though. I have experienced it myself. The driver, it's not very nice. I think it will be a bit too late for a safety car. So it is a sprint race to the finish line, and Dernurko is just a few tenths of the gap separating himself from Rudy. So we'll see. He is pushing. He was pushing a little bit just to stay closing distance to Rudy, and heading towards the start-finish straight then. So what is Dernurko going to do? Is he going to go for the move, heading towards turn 1 and 2 into Tamburello? He's going to go to the left. No, he's not going to go to the left. Rudy is ahead as we've got contact from Nemaya, and I think Chiquita as well had a bit of a spin. Now I think we're going to take Nemaya off the pole, so that is a commentator's curse from my end, unfortunately. But that pushes Legend up into P3 at the moment, but I didn't quite see the aftermath there, unfortunately. But something must have happened to Nemaya and Chiquita to make contact. It must have been through Tamburello, but a shot of Nemaya's first podium of the season. He's not going to get points, and well, H-Eagle is on course to be getting his first point of the season. Not going to jinx things too much yet, as Legend has got a time penalty. So, yes, it could be even more points for H-Eagle due to more penalties being flying around. But look at the closing speed that Dernurko is gaining at the moment at the exit Variante Alta. Could he go for a move into a Vats? If I were him, don't go for a move here, because you'll lose out on DRS. Just wait until you get to the DRS detection point, then go for the move, and then Rudy won't have any DRS at all. So here we go then. Dernurko's going to have DRS. Tom has had a bit of a spin. So I wonder, Aiden, if we're starting to see the medium tyres starting to die a little bit. But here comes Dernurko. Has much better speed heading towards turn number 2 then. And he's got the race lead from Rudy. Legend's quite close enough, but he's got that time penalty. And Asako is a little bit further behind as well. So Tom now out of the points, and he's retired from this race. So as you were saying, we are now approaching the point that the medium tire is starting to be on the cusp of dying. Marcos could be on for points as well. This could get interesting towards the end.
Yeah, the medium tyres are definitely going on a lot of these drivers last time around. Asako was nearly 2 seconds slower than his personal best, and the medium tyres are pretty much at the end of their life at this point in the race. Marcos was the fastest driver on that previous lap. I just checked the race directors. Was the fastest car on track and is now into 10th place with all the incidents that we've just seen in that last lap. I feel so sorry for Nemaya. Chiquita was pushing really hard in a straight line, trying to Constantino up the pack, and then just completely missed his braking point for the Tamburello chicane and wiped Nemaya out. There was nothing that Nemaya did wrong there. That is all on Chiquita, and Nemaya's first shot at a podium finish this season has completely gone, and at the moment he's not going to be close enough for points. So yeah, I feel really horrible for Nemaya. That was such a great race. It's such a great race he had going, and it's all just been taken away from him for some other driver's mistakes. So yeah, he is out of the way, but that puts now Asako in a net position. But I think Jensen here sniffs a chance at a podium and a double podium for Alpine, because Legend has a penalty and Asako is stuck behind us at the moment. He's trying to go round the outside, but doesn't quite have the straight line speed to get far enough alongside into the Tamburello chicane, and Legend leaves just enough room for Asako to be there, but Asako smartly backs out of that one. That was never going to work. And is Jensen going to think about a move here, potentially into the Tosa hairpin and try and find a way through? He's not quite close enough. He's actually, Asako had to defend the line ever so slightly, and Jensen stays in 5th for the time being. H-Eagle, by the way, really struggling on his tyres at the moment. He's pretty safe for at least 10th here because Nemaya's too far back and Mish has a penalty, but Marcos and the Haas now up to 9th, so the next target for him is Kazizo, and if anybody gets a puncture or has a spin in these last couple of laps, Marcos is the person in the pound seat to pick up the most places from this.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe he's made the right decision to go onto those hard tyres, and he had a bit of an instant lap 1 and lap 2, went onto the mediums, and then that safety car is saved. Without that safety car, his race probably would have been ruined. So thank goodness he'd had that safety car to recover from at this moment in time as we head towards the final lap of this race. Very, very soon as Dernurko leads from Rudy, and I wonder if Rudy's left it too little too late to have a challenge on Danerko, because Danerko's pace right now, he's absolutely pushing. He's using all of his battery just to stay ahead of Rudy, and I think Rudy will not get the race win as Legend tries to go down the inside of Asako, and he's done it. Legend on track, he's going to get third, but Asko's going to go on the podium as Jensen tries to go side by side into the Villeneuve chicane. That would be brave if he can make it work, but he decided to stay behind. But as we're saying, let's see if we can get in the move into Tosa chicane. We've got Valds in that fight as well that could sniff our potential chance of maybe a top 4, top 5 finish as well. As there's someone that's got to spin. No, that's Markados, who was on for points. He was doing so well on those hard tyres. Unfortunately, it's coming to an end here, which is a shame, and I think that's another example of a commentator's curse, and I had to say Markados, fair play to him for doing so well. I have to say it's one of his best races of the season, but unfortunately bad luck for him. And look at this, Rudy is pushing. It's not over for Rudy. He's got to challenge Danerko very, very soon, but I think if he's left it too little too late, he's on 5% compared to Danerko's 18%, so unless Danerko makes a mistake, Danerko is going to lead and win his own Grand Prix. So here he is, Danerko, to the delight of Tifosi, wins in Italy, wins in Imola, and wins his own Grand Prix. Amazing stuff. Rudy gets on the podium once again, just misses out, but I have to say, fair play to him. Still had a sniff of this championship. Asako back on the podium after some poor couple of races. Jensen gets his best result in a while, I think, since Miami. He gets a 4th position, which I have to say is pretty incredible. Double points finish for Alpine, and that will probably push them ahead of McLaren in the standings due to McLaren's poor showing. So Alpine, a good result for them. H Eagle, I believe, will get his first point of the season finally, so I won't have to bother trying to not jinx him so far. But yes, he's got 9th place, obviously due to Margaros having a bit of a spin, so he gets not just 1 point but 2 points. I believe the only person to not score a point out of the full-time drivers is Facilio, and he's not here tonight, so that is a bit of a shame for him, but nice to see another person get their first points on the board. We'll go through your results then. So Danerko wins from Rudy, Asako, Jensen. Philip Valters gets his best result in a while in 5th place. Fabi in 6th, Legend 7th, Cazizal 8th, H Eagle 9th, and Namaya, despite that contact he had with Chiquita, he still gets into the points for what could have been for him. Mish and Markados are your final finishers, I believe, and I think Fede do get classified, same with Tom and Chiquita, but your DNFs are Ray, Romanino, Nam and Ogiano, 2 of our reserve drivers, unfortunately, as well. But that is the end of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and we have the home favourite of Danerko taking the win, and the Tifosi as well. I think they're going to be very, very pleased with that.
Yeah, I definitely think they'll be very pleased, like you're saying. It's a typical Danerko performance, isn't it? Nice and controlled, didn't run away with things at the front, but every strategic call he needed to make with track position or anything like that, he made the right call at the right time and he played it perfectly. And at the very end, when Rudy was on the back of him, Danerko had the pace to hold him off. So yeah, a typical Danerko performance, I think we can put it down to. It's pretty much his trademark at this point, isn't it? To lead a train from the front and then never really lose the lead. So brilliant drive from Danerko. And again from Rudy, like I said earlier on, his season just keeps getting better and better. Of course, one last time out, but that's another podium on the books for Rudy. He'll be very, very happy about that one. And I think with Philip Walters only 6 and Tom not scoring any points, that should, I believe, potentially move Rudy into second in this championship, which, considering that he missed the first round of the season completely and didn't get off to the best of starts with the first 2 rounds that he did race. Of course, the first 2 races of the season he did race with Miami and Belgium, and I believe in those races he only picked up 8 points out from both races. He's been on such a run of form recently. It's a testament to how he's been able to get up into potentially second place in this championship. So yeah, great run from Rudy, and yeah, nice to see Asako back on the podium, like you say, after a rough couple of rounds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at the poll results at the moment, and a whopping 52% of you have predicted Danerko to win this race. And to be honest, I'm not really that surprised that you guys have voted for Danerko to win this one. So we'll see if we can get any of the drivers in for post-race interviews as well, because obviously we got the both of us this week. I do have a voice, so I can do interviews, but obviously it is not mandatory. If they don't want to join us, that is absolutely fine, but we're interested to hear people's views on the race. But I have to say, I'm picking out a few results from certain drivers. I have to say, Philip Valtis and Fabi, 5th and 6th respectively, were the ones to gain from those safety car, but performed very well, had a consistent pace, and in some places was matching the leaders. Actually, in fact, Fabi set the fastest, a quicker, faster lap compared to Dan Erko in P1, which just goes to show how good he is around this track. Legend did perform quite well, but he had the penalty, and that what could have been for him as well. But we have to say, a much better race for Fabi, because he has flown a little bit under the radar this season, and it's great to see him getting his season back under control as well. He's probably getting used to the game a little bit, but we'll see what he could do in one of his favourite tracks in Brazil next week.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he can do, but yeah, he's that's definitely his best result of the season so far, his best showing of the season, of course, and to gain 12 places in the race around Imola is no mean feat. Even with the incidents we saw today, it is still no mean feat to pick up that many places in a race around a track like Imola. So yeah, great performance from Fabi. It is his best result of the season, like we mentioned. So yeah, it's good for him. I think he's just starting to build a little bit more confidence and momentum now. We're starting to see a bit more of Fabi. I think he was fairly anonymous in the first part of the season, but he's starting to pick up the pace a bit more now, which is nice to see. And I think it's good for Red Bull as well. Marcadors, well, he didn't get a result today, Marcadors, and was a bit unlucky. He had the pace today. He qualified well. His race pace was looking good. He looked like he was on for a few points at the end before that spin, but I think Red Bull were just starting to find their feet a little bit, the two different drivers there. Of course, Red Bull really far down in 9th at the moment in the manufacturers, so they're just starting to find their feet and they're creeping forwards a little bit. So yeah, nice to see some drivers starting to feature a little bit more at the front now.
Yes, can you double check to see if there's any drivers that want to come and talk to us, because
I will double check. We have got Rudy in the waiting room, so let me just drag him into here now.
Yes, so we will drag him in as you were saying as well. So here we go then. Our first interview for quite a while. Rudy, who finished in P2, who won last week. A massive congratulations to you. Some strong showings in the last couple of races. A good fight between yourselves and Danerco. If it was one more lap, do you think you would have got Danerco?
Can you guys hear me, by the way? Or?
Yes, I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, to be honest, I think I had the chance to overtake him on the last 2 laps, but then I made a bit of a mistake at the chicane, which cost me. And on the final lap, I was trying to put him under pressure, but the gap was a little bit too big to overtake him. But yeah, I mean, before the race, I would have taken P2 all day. So yeah, to be fighting for the win again, it's just amazing.
It looks like you like Italian tracks, because of course you got the win last time out in Monza as well, and obviously you started on the hard compounded tyres like everybody else had done as well, and knowing that a safety car came out as well, did you have a feeling that you had to go onto the medium compounded tyres, or did you have an inkling that there could be another safety car on the horizon? What was your thought on picking onto the mediums?
Well, yeah, there was no doubt for me really, because the pit lane is like 27 seconds. It's one of the longest pit lanes, so I had to pit, and I think everyone pretty much did. So yeah, in the end, also right choice. Tires were like 70% at the end, so it was close, but yeah.
Jeez, I was about to ask about your tyre life at the end there, because it did sound towards the end that you did start to struggle a little bit. Were you a little bit worried that the guys behind you could start to catch up a little bit towards the end?
Well, to be honest, I knew that Baraka probably had a bit less pace than I had, and I knew he was on lower ERS as well. And I was actually surprised after the safety car restart that I was able to keep up with Danerco, because he's always really rapid on the race, but I was able to stay with him, and then I wasn't really worried, to be honest, from the cars behind.
Oh, that's great to see as well. And now you're closing up in the championship quite a bit, obviously with Tom not scoring much at all in this race as well. With a few rounds to go, do you see yourself in a championship fight, and do you think you can take the title in a few races' time?
If I would have raced the first race, and if I would have gotten into this good form a bit earlier, I'd say yes. But now I think Danerco is probably a bit too far ahead. But I'll give my all. Maybe Danerco will miss some races as well, and he's switched to PC as well, so he might struggle switching between platforms. So yeah, I'll definitely keep trying to fight for that title. It's going to be difficult, but yeah, I'm not giving up yet.
Yes, I like your attitude. It is great to see as well, especially for a man that came from F3 last season. It's great to see you performing so well in the top division on PlayStation. Aiden, do you have any questions for the man who finished in P2?
I guess the only question for me, 4 rounds to go. What of the final 4 tracks do you think is your the favourite, maybe for you to get the next win for your season?
Wait, let me quickly have a look at the calendar.
Brazil, Jeddah.
Brazil is pretty bad for me. Saudi. Yeah, I have the calendar already. But Brazil is normally not good for me. Saudi is normally a really good track. Last game it was a really good track, so I'll be looking to fight for the win there as well. Well, every track, but that one especially. Yeah, Austin, I'm pretty good at as well, I'd say, and Britain as well. So only Brazil is one that I might struggle at. But the rest, I'm confident I can fight for the win.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty good, looking good for going forwards, and it's a good attitude as well to look at the races going forward and looking pretty strong for you. And of course today, a good result for you and your teammate as well today, Jensen, with a 4th place finish. So that should move you pretty close, actually, I think, potentially ahead of Mercedes now and into second in the manufacturers, with Mercedes not scoring any points. So is there a focus for you and Jensen on the manufacturers, or is it all about drivers for you?
I mean, good position in the driver's stand or in the constructor standing is always nice, but for me the focus is on the drivers.
Perfect stuff. But yeah, congratulations on another podium, and yeah, well done on the Italy rounds. They went brilliantly for you.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for comms.
No worries. So that just spoke to us. We're currently finished in P2. Usually we would have Dernerko come and speak to us, but unfortunately he is unavailable to speak to us tonight. So I think we are going to wrap it up there for the end of the stream. But before we do that, Aiden, do you have any final thoughts?
Not much to add, I would say. I'd say a great race, a nice race to come back to. It was a really, really interesting one, strategy-wise as well, and it's still nice to see, even if we got another repeat winner tonight, it's nice to see new people featuring at the front still, and the championship is ever dynamic, isn't it? While Dernerko is still dominating from the front, we're seeing new challenges every week, which is really, really nice to see this late on into the season as well. So I'm excited for the final 4 races now.
Yes, bring it on. And speaking of the final 4 races, let's go through the final 4 races on the calendar. So we've got Brazil next week, so make sure you check that out. And then we've got a break week after that. Then we head to Saudi Arabia for in Jeddah, which is a very lovely track to commentate on in league racing. Absolutely loved it last season. Then we had Austin, Texas for the penultimate round, and then the championship finale, where we could see a championship being crowned, if it's close as it is, in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. So if you want to see more action in PSGL, we of course got the PC tiers. Now, just a quick note, obviously PC F1 has finished. That does mean PC F2 has moved to Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So, and that will be commentated by Chris Buxton and Luke Etheridge at a new time at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So make sure you check that out. All other stream tiers for PC will be on at 7 p.m. at 8 p.m. for F3, F4, F5 and F6 on Thursday. Then we got the lower streamed PlayStation tiers on Sunday with F9 and F11. And then of course we've got myself and Aiden taking you through the action at around Brazil at 8 p.m. UK time, and of course we've got F2 to F8 on as well. So that is the season to come. I've been Jessica Ball, and of course we have Aiden Carter alongside me. We will leave you in the capable hands of our 2 sponsors, Grid Rival and our title sponsor, GT Omega. So have a good evening, everybody. We'll see you next week, and have a good rest of your evening as well. Until then, bye-bye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega and Grid Rival, proudly supporting PSGL.